Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Friday, January 21st meeting of the Westwood School Building Committee. I would like to start with a roll call attendance. Josh Baumer.
Here.
Brian Baer.
Here.
Allison Borchers.
Here.
Tom Carey.
Here.
Chris Coleman cannot join us today. John Cummings.
Here.
Charlie Donahue.
Here.
Pam Dukeman.
Here.
Mary Kate Ferreira.
Here.
Jen Flanders.
Here.
Abby Hanscom.
Here.
Lema Jean-Baptiste.
Here.
Josepha Jowdy.
Here.
Matt Kuklins.
Here.
I believe Carol is joining in a couple minutes. I don't see her yet. Michelle Miller.
Here.
Tony Mullen.
Here.
Emily Parks.
Here.
Amanda is unable to join us this morning, and I don't see Mike Walsh. Is he here? No. Okay. All right. I would like to recognize the live stream available online at www.westwood.k12.ma.us/live to provide real-time public access to the activities of the School Building Committee in accordance with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. This meeting is also being recorded for later broadcast on Westwood Media Center's platforms, and we thank Connor and his team for being here and for being always here. Jumping right in with the chair's report, I just wanted to give a brief membership update. I think, Tom, is this your first meeting? Were you here last week? I can't remember. Last month. I can't remember.
No, I was, I think it was last week I was sick.
Okay, so we would like to welcome Tom Carey, who is
Thank
our
you.
new head of facilities to this group, the district's head of facilities. He comes from the MFA, so we are very lucky to have him because he's very knowledgeable and cultural.
Yes.
So welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, jumping right into the discussion items. I'm going to turn it over to Doran Whittier and Compass for a cost estimate update. Just a quick reminder, Doran Whittier had sent out and Compass had sent out the construction documents at 60% to cost estimators. So they came back, the cost estimations came back. We had 2 cost estimators provide estimates. We were very, very nervous, but I think we have some good news here. So take it all. I won't steal your thunder. Take it away.
Great, thanks, May. I'll just advance the slide here, and then Compass can jump in. So the things that we're going to review today, as Maya mentioned, the cost estimate. We'll be reviewing interior design review that we had a couple meetings with the Aesthetics and Design Subcommittee, and we'll provide an overview of the permitting process that's taken place over the last couple of months.
Hey everyone, Brian Jarvis, Project Director for Compass. Thanks, Rob. We'll walk you through kind of where we are at with the 6% CD set and the estimate. So as May alluded to, we had 2 estimates done, one by Maya Cota, which was our estimator, one by PM&C, which was for Doran Whittier. We got those back. We reconciled those last Friday for the better part of 7 hours. The team did a lot of work going through everything. Actually got those 2 estimates within a couple $1,000s of each other. To reconcile it just over $70,300,000, which brought us in slightly under the current construction budget that we're carrying, which is a great thing. So that was a lot of good news considering some of the instability and fluctuations in the market. So that's really good news. We're at on budget at this point, is what we're saying, at the 6% CD set, and obviously we have an additional estimate coming up at the 90% CD set, which will be in a month or so. Next slide. However, we do want to kind of take that as a cautiously optimistic stance, because obviously there is a lot of flexibility and stableness in the market that we know of. And one of the things that we would like to talk about and just discuss today, so everyone understands kind of where we would like to go or what we're recommending, is between now and in the 90% set, to build in some buffering for bid day. So basically, if you look at the first bar, we're at 6% CD base bid, which is on budget. We're at 70 million. we have a 5% contingency in the budget. However, the estimates, as good as they are and as good as they are what they do, they only guarantee it to within 3% plus or minus. So obviously if bids come in 3% under, that's great. But if it's 3%, over, then we have to deal with that. So what we want to be able to do is kind of come up with a strategy for bid day of having some flexibility with the budget of managing what happens when we actually open the bids. And there's a couple ways to do that. One obviously is creating alternates. We already have a few items that have been designated as an alternate, looking into some other potential areas that could be neatly packaged into an alternate that could be put into the documents that way and bid as alternates. And then you'd have flexibility to accept them or not accept them if budget allows. We're also going to be looking at that list of value engineering that I believe the committee has reviewed previously. We're going to get updated pricing from the 60% set, continue to refine that as we move towards the 90% set, and then decide if there's things that kind of are low-hanging fruit that don't affect the building programmatically, or things that could possibly be added later, via contingency or possibly a different funding source. Come up with a list that way. And then finally, there's some options that we can do both on bid day with, do we want to move forward with still having a 5% contingency? Do we want to possibly reduce that to maybe 4%? 4.5%? Are there some other soft cost budget items like FF&E, et cetera, that we could probably manipulate a little bit on bid day to make up some additional funds if we had to cover a potential overrun in the base bid that we open on bid day? So the bottom line is where we'd like to get to at the 90% set. We don't need to make any decisions today. We just wanted to inform the committee that we're looking to kind of create that percentage to be determined alternate VE space between now and the next meeting. Next slide, please. And we'd like to come back at the February meeting with the list of what we would recommend and Dora Whittier would recommend as potential value engineering decisions, potential options for alternates, and then also potential budget manipulation, so that when we get to bid day in May, we kind of have a three-pronged approach, so to speak, a plan A, B, C, and D, if you will, for ways to manage the budget. We will have another check of this strategy with the 90% CD set. And I think we're just going to confirm at that point, okay, this is how we want to proceed. And also at the next meeting, we'll determine what's going to be an alternate in March, kind of what that scope is, in February, kind of what the scope is, what the value engineering is. But then when we get to the meeting in March, we will need to prioritize those alternates so they can be put in the bid documents that way. And then we'll go out and do another cost estimate, the 90% set, which will help verify what we think for values of those things, and then eventually get to a bid set where, okay, we're ready to go out to bid. We have a list of alternates. We've done our VE work, and we know these are the budget moves that we would make on bid day, so that we're as confident as possible that we'll be able to manage whatever we see come bid day. So we wanted to give you a heads up, kind of like the next 7 months of what we're doing, at least from the budget perspective. There's going to be a lot of other things going on for the project as well in the background, like bidding and pre-qual. But from a main decision point for the committee, this is where we would like to go. This is what we're recommending, and just kind of want to get that in front of you today to see if there's any questions or concerns, and then we can talk about it if there are, and if not, we pretty much have a roadmap of where we'll be in the next couple months. So I'll stop there and turn it back over to Maya and see if there's any questions or comments.
Thanks, Brian. So does anyone have any questions or comments about the cost estimations, the budget? I know you had the you were able to view the cost estimators reports themselves, or anything about this budget schedule going forward, or even the construction cost management program that we're suggesting?
I have two questions. This is Brian. When you talk about reconciling the two estimates, is that done together with both estimators present or independently?
It's done together. So basically you get the estimates done. They actually trade estimates and kind of go through and look at, come up with questions. Why did you carry this? Or what do you mean when you price this? And then we actually have a full agenda for the day where they bring in all of the individual engineers. So mechanical, plumbing, electrical, civil, from both sides, and kind of walk through those pieces of the estimates. And they're going back and forth between what they saw in the plans, what they're carrying for a value, what they're carrying for a cost of that work. So it's done together. At some points there's 8-12 people on the call, all kind of reviewing the same scope. So it's pretty intense, and it's a pretty collaborative process.
Just to follow up on that, in addition to the cost estimators, discipline subcontractors or sub-estimators for mechanical and electrical and so forth, we have our engineers involved as well, all who have, we forwarded the estimates for them to review and provide comments. And so we've got, our engineers looking at it, us looking at it, the two cost estimators and their sub cost estimating consultants as well. So there's many people looking at these numbers.
Okay, great. And the last question, when we talk about alternates, bid alternates, when those are proposed, can we also have a sense of if there's additional cost for A&E fees to prepare those alternates?
Yeah, that's something that you need to take in consideration. Obviously, if there's a lot of rework in the design, there could be additional costs with that. I mean, I think what we're really striving for is current scope that's in the project that kind of creates a nice, neat, something that can be easily separated, kind of the way it's designed now, and you're just designating it as an alternate. But Brian, yes, if there's something that we feel could be an alternate that might create a little bit of rework to, if you don't accept the alternate, what do you need to do in its place? We'll let you know of that, and that'll be part of the decision making.
Okay, great.
Oh, I have a question. Are we still, saw in the document referenced August? Are we still on track for July breaking ground?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, at some
Thank
point in
you.
July, correct.
Thank you. The contingency, in theory, is it, the 5%, is it meant, I mean, can be two types of contingency. One is the bids come in, right? Something comes in more expensive. And another, I assume, is like, you have more ledge than you think, or something like that adds cost. Is that fair?
Yeah, the construction contingency that's currently, so I should step back. So in the estimates that we reconciled, both estimators are still carrying several percentage points for pricing escalation between now and bid day. So in theory, they think the cost of the work exacts, and they put another 2 or 3% in the estimate to get us to bid day, to hopefully capture any market fluctuations. Best guess at that point, but that's typically what we would carry at this point, given how close we are to bid. And then the construction contingency that we have in the total budget, the 5%, which is based on the cost of construction, is for things that come up during construction that are construction related. So yes, we hit more ledge. That's obviously a big risk. That would come out of construction contingency. So before we make a decision to reduce contingency as a potential bid management option, we need to feel, how comfortable do we feel with the information that we have that we're going to be able to cover something if we hit more ledge. We have some requirements in the specification of how to deal with that to, hopefully safeguard even more outside of contingency. But yes, that's one of the considerations that we have to think about before reducing contingency.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but is there escalation and also another bidding contingency, or is it in addition to the construction contingency?
There's an escalation contingency, and there's also still a little bit of design contingency in the estimates, which is basically for the last kind of between 60 and 90% CDs, those last details that are getting finalized and aren't quite drawn yet or not quite detailed out. So there's some things that the estimators, there's not a lot at this point, but they keep reducing that as we move through the design process and keep doing estimates. So now we're kind of down to that last, 2 or 3% as well for things that quite aren't finished yet in the designs, and we should be able to pick those up in the 90% CDs. So in theory, when you get to 90% CDs or bids, that design contingency has gone to 0, and now everything is kind of in the base estimate, right? They kind of like offset each other in theory.
Yeah. So Tony, that's separate from the construction contingency.
Correct.
Great.
So there's still 2 pricing contingencies within the estimate itself, and then there's still that 5% in the overall budget outside of the construction costs for things that will pop up during construction. And then you also have an owner's contingency in the total project budget for things that pop up from here on out for soft cost related items.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Ryan, this is Chris Coleman. How are you?
Hey, Chris.
Just a question. Can you just walk me through July? Because you talk about doing the bid opening and then having construction beginning in July. It just seems like with the bid openings, the contract signing and mobilization, you're still confident that construction will begin in July?
Yeah, I think July, that's exactly what you're talking about. I mean, we do the bid opening depending on how quickly we can turn around contracts. and get things in place. I think mobilization is really what we mean about, in July. I think anything on top of that would be, great. But I think realistically, it's getting the site set up. Obviously, we've got to work around the school schedule. There's a lot of things to set up the construction phase. So I would think that July is really about getting to the site and maybe starting some site demo, you know what I mean? But that it's not going to be full-fledged construction in July, but it will be starting.
All right, thank you for clarification.
All right, any other questions? Okay, Ryan, thank you. That was
Thanks,
very
everyone.
helpful.
Great, thank you. And so from our perspective, we've got a number of items on our end just for the next 3 month look ahead. Next week, we're submitting to the MSBA a 60% CD set upon your authorization today. We've got user group meetings round 3. So we're meeting with probably 50 to 60 various staff over a 3-day period. Just to kind of finalize our review of the drawings and where we're at. And in February, we're expecting to receive the MSBA response. We'll respond to the MSBA response. And then, and also during the month of February, working with Compass, we'll be in PPVC finalizing the general contractor and subcontractor pre-qualification documents. And then in March and April, we'll be actually pre-qualifying them. And then towards the end of March, we'll be submitting the 90% CD to the MSBA, which I'm just going to touch on. This is a good time to touch on this. So with that March 28th submission, one thing that we wanted to just touch on was on the 25th of March would be an ideal date to insert a SBC meeting if possible, so that you can authorize the submission to MSBA. It would be a very quick meeting, but I don't know if that's something that can happen.
So this would be just for the purposes of authorizing the 90% CD cost estimation to the MSBA?
The 90% CD submission to the MSBA, yes.
And that's March 25th, which is a Friday.
We could consider just moving April 1st meeting a week ahead, basically.
Yeah, let's do that instead of having a special meeting.
And
Unless
what would be a little complicated is that the accounting will be clumsy.
Because we won't have closed out the month.
Basically, and so we have to sort of, so if, and right now the basic, basically if we don't, well, yeah, the accounting is the clumsy part because.
Yeah, the other issue is that our next meeting isn't until May 13th. Is that too long between March 25th and May 13th?
But we could put another meeting in earlier April to give you a gap between the 25th and that meeting, so it's not back to back, if that helps.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to avoid just having an extra meeting, but if we're going to have an extra meeting, regardless, we may as well just, unless people disagree, may as well just do it on the 25th, just for that limited purpose, that maybe a 15-minute meeting where we call to order. And you go over now, we wouldn't have, the SBC wouldn't have seen the 90% CD cost estimate until that meeting,
18th.
correct? So we do need to just go through it a little bit. So it's
Yeah.
not just a quick vote.
It will be similar to today in terms of what the kind of discussion we have, and the sort of the somewhat of the unknown part is the if everything comes in fine on the 18th, it was fairly smooth. But if 18th the number comes at the end of the on 18th the number comes in high, then there will be a lot more discussion, shall we say?
Okay. Can
We
I
don't-
think about this a little
Yeah,
bit?
we don't
all right,
have
let
to
me
make a
think about this.
decision today.
Right,
And I think
exactly.
that just
All right.
simply, and by February, we can make that
Yeah.
decision.
Okay.
So let's circle back with Dawn Whittier on that
Yeah.
schedule and see what
Okay.
we can do there.
All right. And if anyone has any thoughts, you can just email me, let me know.
Excuse me, Mayor, just
Yeah.
as a friendly reminder, as of right now, we are, after March 31st, we cannot have virtual meetings.
Right. Yep.
So
We know
just
that.
Is something that would make sense to push something up so we can still have that virtual meeting, just as a reminder.
Yep. Yep. Yes. Our April 1st meeting is in person, actually. So, I wonder if he's going to change that. If Governor Baker will change that, extend that. But anyway, okay. Good point. We will definitely think about that.
Rob, can I back up before we move on?
Sure.
I was just wondering, Rob, can you give us a sense of what the expectations are with this MSBA response that you had in there?
It's the same as, that we've been doing with each of the different submissions all along the way, from, the PDP, the PSR, schematic design, design development. Each of these different submissions, we put together a package, the MSBA, a binder, along with, the drawings and specifications, and they review it in detail. They pick out every little thing in there that they have questions on, or maybe they want further clarification on. And so then we respond to those questions, and it's just part of the process. They will always have questions. There isn't any project that we've ever had, or I think any architect has ever had, that has not had a review comments, and so it's just part of the process.
Right. But so as we get closer here to the end, this you just consider this normal, and it shouldn't affect schedule or anything like that.
Correct.
Brian,
And all of the
Yeah.
comments that we've gotten to date have been very manageable. So given where we are in the process, I would be surprised if they came back with some crazy comments.
yeah, this is a process that MSBA built in. So they built in many checks and balance to make sure that the process is they want to ensure the project has the highest possibility of success at the end of the day. And then so they are doing so they build in these checks and balance of review at every step of the way. And then so this is, and Dawn Whittier's drawing has been, their submission has been very good. And so we do not anticipate this to be anything more than the normal part of the project.
And I'll add to that, they even dictate in our schedule that we put together for the project that we carry a certain amount of days for the submission and for their review and for the response comments. So that's all baked into the overall schedule.
Okay. Yeah, I understand the process. I was just curious, and it sounds good that this is just normal and you don't expect there to be any surprises that would change schedule. So.
Yep. Good questions. All right, so we'll jump into the interior design update. The Aesthetics and Design Subcommittee has met a couple times, and we've reviewed the design inspiration, the color scheme and organization, wayfinding, administration, lobby and media center, bathrooms, and the gallery space. So I'm going to walk you through all of that, and then see if there's any questions at the end. So as you all are aware, our inspiration has been built on nature. So integrating the sky and the sunlight and the grass and the fields and the wood, and so a lot of that kind of inspired the development of the color scheme that we're moving ahead with, very neutral with little pops of color. So walking through the overall, trunk and the branches of the building, we've got these very neutral colors integrated into the main passageways and the extended learning areas of the building, as well as the cafeteria, very soft kind of neutral tones, sort of like this sage green with some natural wood and fabric, providing this extra little pop. In the extended learning areas, the same idea, very sort of neutral tones. And then in the classrooms is where we've decided to give a little bit of an extra pop in the color. So we're outlining each of the different wings with an accent color. So in the bay wing, which is the kindergarten and first grade wing, we've got this yellow accent. In the A wing west, which is the second and third graders, it would be a light blue, similar to like a light flower. And then the A wing west, which is the older fourth and fifth graders, it would be a darker blue, more representing the sky. And so this is an example of what a classroom where that, we're integrating the yellow into an accent wall, which is a teaching wall in each of the classrooms. And then in the floor, most of the tile is neutral color. But there are also accent colors. So in the
Carpet
yellow
tile.
Carpet tile, yes, yes, carpet tile. And it's actually a flocked flooring. It's even more resilient than regular carpet. It's similar to like airport carpeting. Very easy to clean. Ken took it through its paces with spills and cleaning up and so forth. So the rooms with the yellow accent walls will have a little bit more of the yellow tiles in it, but we'll also have some of the other colors integrated in it so that all three colors are represented in each of the classrooms. This is an example of the second and third grade classroom with the accent wall. And then this is a representative of the fourth and fifth grade classroom with the accent wall. And then integrating that also with wayfinding. So our idea is to, as we've shown in a few other locations in the building, we have these kind of wood slats that sort of represent, this tree idea, right? And these circles that are like the hole in the tree. And so integrated into these, we're proposing to use this glass panel that you could put like a K to represent kindergarten or a 1 to represent first, to provide this sort of wayfinding designation for each of the different wings. And so that would be located at each of the different entrances or openings that enter into each of the three wings on each level. So it'd be something like this. And this is something that's flexible, so it can be changed out, interchanged if the school decides they want to change things up over time. And then a typical classroom, this is another view looking down. So as I mentioned, the field color along with the accents, and then fabric that would kind of blend all of those together. And then in the bathrooms would have a linoleum flooring with, on the plumbing wall, it would have the ceramic tile, and then the other walls would be sheetrock with paint. At the administration area, in addition to the entry lobby, we'll have, an entry mat, and then extending further into the space is an additional mat area that will tie in and integrate with the carpeting at the admin area. And then again, similar kind of neutral components there with the wood, solid surfacing, and carpeting. At the circulation desk in the library, similar idea in appearance with a solid surface there and wood and carpeting. One of the things that came out of the discussion was to relocate what we were previously showing as a sink behind the circulation desk. So we've isolated that into a separate area so that it's really just for book binding, repair, and that sort of thing. And so to make the circulation desk more functional, we've relocated that to another wall in the room. And that was the door leading into the STEM room. Looking at the railing system, we looked at a couple options for the railing system here. Originally, we had a perforated metal, but in discussions with our mechanical engineer, the way that the displacement ventilation system works, it really wants to have a solid surface it flows along the surface of the floor and then flows up. So it wants to have a solid surface to move up. And so we looked at either a half wall with sheetrock and then extending to glass, and then also looked at all glass. And it was decided that it really just made sense to have all glass. It's one contractor doing the work, simplifies it, allows for the view out to the big window. And so the group decided that seemed to make the most sense.
Rob, I think that was also the more cost-effective option, correct?
Yes, right. Yep.
Rob, that glass panel in the library there, your last slide, that continues down the stair, correct?
Correct.
But the other stairways, it's perforated metal, right?
Exactly. All the other guardrails and all the other stairways have the perforated metal, correct? Yep.
And can we, sorry, I just want to raise one point. The wood slats or over the circulation desk, in this photo and in a previous photo, those are lined up evenly on the ceiling, sort of where they end. But in the reception, I believe they were uneven. And I don't know if we've made a decision about whether we want it to be clean and even or whether we want that uneven look. And if so, if that'll be consistent or if you're planning on having them different lengths in different places.
I think our thinking right now is that they would be consistent throughout, and that this is probably something we would need to adjust. I think our recommendation is to have some variation in there because it's a little bit more representative of the tree, but maybe we don't have a large variation. Maybe it's very subtle. But if there's a preference for one or the other, we're happy to make any adjustments needed.
Okay, maybe we can just raise that with the designer and make a note of that just to circle back to that.
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
In the multi-stall toilet rooms, so we have these two toilet rooms. We have one side for boys, one side for girls. Our intention is to integrate some of the similar colors that we have in the building, but highlight, one accent for the girls' side and one for the boys. So we've got this sort of orangish yellow color on the girls' side and bluish color on the boys' side. There was some discussion about the pattern. So the direction that we were given from the Aesthetics and Design group is to maybe come back with a couple other options on the patterning and how to integrate that. Also to look at extending the ceramic tile so that the sheetrock doesn't come down to the floor for maintenance, so that the ceramic tile continues across. And also looking at other options in terms of the sort of icon designation of, a boy and a girl. It's a sensitive component. And so we'll look at a few other options on ways to designate that makes sense.
And just so people understand, can you go back, Rob?
Yeah,
just so
sure.
people understand, this is an airport style bathroom. If you think about when you're in the airport, there's one giant entryway and you walk in, and if, men's is to the right and women's is to the left. And so there's no door that's going to be closing off these bathrooms. I think that this is a style that is now being incorporated into a lot of schools, and the teachers have actually said that this is a preferable style in terms of being able to monitor the kids. But just in case you were confused what you were looking at, picture an airport bathroom, and that's really what this will look like. And this is in all of the bathrooms. We do have single stall bathrooms throughout the school, but this is for all of the sort of, boys and girls multi-stall bathrooms.
Yep. Thank you. And then at the gallery, where this is at is this is the main entrance here, and you come down the corridor. These are the music rooms. There's this what we're calling the gallery space, which is right where the stairs lead up to the second floor. And this is an opportunity for showcase student work. It's a highly visible corner of the building where students and everyone will be kind of traveling through to get from one end of the building to the other. And so our thought is to have a mix of some tackable surfaces where teachers can post up, images or things that students are working on, and then a mix of some acoustical panels on the wall provide a little bit of acoustic buffer for that space. So the result of that discussion was that we'll reconnect with the school district to just talk a little bit more in detail about the height of the tackable surface and exactly where we want that located. So then we'll continue on with that discussion.
Rob, this is Michelle.
Yes.
And this may be way in the noise and it may be for later, but is there consideration for, I love that area to display artwork, but as we combine schools, there's probably something for each school that they already have tradition wise. I know in one of the schools, they have pictures of each like 5th grade graduating class that I'm going to guess that they want to keep. And I imagine that's in both schools. So that might be something for consideration of what do we need to have space for? What do they want to carry through, especially as the schools combine? So it's probably down the road, but just to put that in there.
Yeah, that's great. Any other insight or comments like that is helpful. We do have a number of 3D display cases also integrated at a few different locations in the building. And so I think having that discussion about what types of things will want to be hung on the wall. Maybe there's other locations that we don't have tack boards, but maybe something can just be hung on the wall. And so we can definitely work through that. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just add, I think that's an important point, Michelle. We're going to have to do a lot of thinking about sort of how do we preserve the history of the two schools, and also think about how do we bring together the two communities and, really integrate them into one community. So I think we're going to be thinking a lot about that. Maybe instead of having, each 5th grade in both of the schools create what they have always created, maybe they come together and create something that gets put there. So I think that'll be a fun aspect of thinking about, those kinds of culture issues.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
So just summarizing our review, the Aesthetics and Design Subcommittee recommended accepting our proposed finishes, color scheme, organization, wayfinding, as well as the glass railing and the library mezzanine as presented. The exceptions, as I mentioned, were at the toilet stall, at the multi-stall toilet rooms. We'll come back with an alternative pattern for the walls to consider, and an alternative ideas on the boy-girl designation. And then we'll work with the school district to look at the tackable height in the gallery space. So before I move on, are there any other questions, or does anyone from the Aesthetics and Design Subcommittee have any other comments?
Yes, I do.
Oh, go ahead, John.
So we also talked about, one was the windows outside the principal's office.
We've integrated that.
Okay. And the other one was the heating system for the entrance desk place.
Yes, thank you. So the two items that John is talking about were some discussions that we had. Actually, John had brought these up and were great points. So at the principal's office, having the exterior glass be bullet resistant to the level 3, that's similar to what we have on the inside of the vestibule, which makes a lot of sense. So we've integrated that, and that's already included in the cost estimate that we received. And the other piece was providing a little unit heater down low by the administrative desk at the front of the lobby space, understanding that, in the middle of winter, right around now, we got kids coming into the building, bringing in the morning with cold air kind of rushing in, that there'll be a burst of cold air coming into that space. And so we're providing a unit heater where the administrative assistant can modify and turn on or increase or lower the heat his or herself, so that they can adjust their temperature down at their lower feet level. There's no need for a space heater or anything else that needs to get brought in. So yes, thank you, John, for bringing those up, and we are integrating those.
What do people who aren't on the Aesthetics Design Subcommittee think of the materials and the interior finishes? Any thoughts? I'm assuming everybody loves it.
Naya, hi, this is Josh. I think it looks beautiful, and really love the soft, lighter colors. I'm just curious about sort of upkeep over time with those, lighter colors and nicks, I don't know, stains, things like that, sort of showing up on the wall. Is that something that you've found in other buildings? Is it an issue, or just sort of result in some sort of touch-up paint through the years?
So on the walls, what you're seeing here in this image right here, this is this linoleum flooring that actually comes up to the wall as a wainscot in all of the corridors, and up about 3 feet. And then there's a wood, like a chair rail trim that just terminates it. And so by doing that, and the type of flooring that we've selected, the linoleum flooring is highly durable, very easy to maintain, resists those sort of marks. And if they do get marks, they're easy to remove. And then in terms of this Flotex or Flox flooring, carpet tile type of product, we actually gave one of these yellow tiles to Ken back in December, and he said, I want to put some stains all over this thing and try this out. And we're like, okay, have at it. And the next time I met with him, I said, how did that go? And he said, it's fantastic. He said, we spilled coffee and ketchup and all kinds of stuff on it, and put it through its paces, and was really impressed by it. And so that was the feedback we received. So feeling good about the materials that we've selected.
Josh, that this is Chin, that the material that they're picking have been used in the proposed locations, and then having the wainscoting that you don't have to paint the hallways, probably at least you don't need to do it every year. Whereas if you don't put the wainscoting on, it's pretty much every year you have to go back and patch and paint the wall. That's the sort of the past experience that and so that is a very good thing that we got. And the Flotex is something that has been put through tests, and then we're comfortable that it will be an easy maintainable surface.
I just had a quick question. I know in one of the schools we visited in Needham, out in the playground, they had a map of the universe, I think, out of respect for the graduate who was an astronaut. And I'm wondering about on the floor space and on the large wall space we just saw, if there's a possibility of like putting maps up there, like a map of the world or different things that would be creative and innovative instead of just a beautiful flat floor. Are there other schools that would be innovative in, getting kids to look at things like that you don't usually have in a classroom? You have a globe, maybe look at the world, but never a big, huge map on that wall, or just ways of getting the kids thinking about what's around them, not just a beautiful floor.
Yeah, that's a good question, Charlie. And actually, I think it might have been Tom had brought up the question of whether it made sense to put a digital projector up in the ceiling and leave this as sort of a blank area where something can get projected onto the wall, and that can be changed over time. So if maybe, and that could be a map of the world, or it could be really anything that you decide may want to change depending on the topic of the season or an area of maybe it's Spanish week or something like that. You can project something onto that wall. So that's just an idea that came up.
Or just pictures of the kids, like the third grade such and such, day, and it's just pictures of the teachers and the kids, something like that. So as people are walking by it, that's our grade up there today. Those are our people, or kids doing activities. But I think it'd be fun to be creative on the wall space with things like you've just suggested, and other ways of making the kids have fun looking at the wall.
Yeah, I think as we get closer to the interior, finalizing the interior, we're going to have some great conversations about curating these walls and what we think we want. I love this idea of sort of a swappable images coming in. And we do have, I think the design team has talked about, as you can see here, this hanging system again, so we can swap things in and out. I think we're going to have, with the principals and the teachers and the students, I think it's a great opportunity for some very fun conversations about what should go on these walls. So I think there's more fun to be had down the road when we get a little closer to that point of the project. Great ideas, though.
Rob, has there been parallel development on the outside spaces, the playgrounds and things, or are those just, or what's the process with that?
Yeah, so actually next week during our final round of user group meetings, there is a session on playgrounds and site. And so we're planning to roll out the next, finer level of detail of playground equipment and so forth. That's planned for that area during those meetings, and then we'll follow up with the leadership group after that as well.
Great. Any more comments about the interior selection? Because we are going to be voting today whether or not to accept the recommendations of the Aesthetic Design Subcommittee. So there will be a vote later. Nope. Okay.
All right. So the next piece is just providing a summary of our permitting process. So we met with the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission. We had 3 Planning Board hearings dating back to October, and then 2 Conservation Commission hearings as well. One was back then in October, and then more recently this month. So we'll just kind of summarize what we reviewed with them. We received approval from both the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission. They had their independent peer reviewer, Beta Engineering, review all of our drawings, and we went back and forth and made some modifications that were recommended as well to finalize the product. So this was the previous site plan that we were showing, and so some of the modifications that we made were, as requested, we expanded the width. We were able to expand the width of the soccer field, or a multi-use play field, from 210 feet to 225. So it's 5 yards wider than it was. As a result of that, we expanded the drive here to accommodate that, which also allowed us to retain a little bit more of a clump of trees, hopefully, in the central area. So like I said, we made a larger curve here in the entry drive. We've modified a little bit of the parking in here to accommodate that as well. So it kind of shifted some of the balance of the parking. We were able to eliminate some retaining walls that we were previously showing along this southern drive here, which is great. That helped us reduce some cost, and also makes it nicer that you don't have to have a retaining wall that's visual here, or a fencing. And so we were able to grade that out and make that work. And then along the top here, we adjusted the fencing so it comes back in and meets the gate over here, and then relocated some landscaping at this corner of the where the walking trail meets the fire access trail. So this is just a blow up of that. We did have some fragrant sumac located along here. We relocated that to provide this sort of naturalized buffer and transition between the fire access trail and the school property, and then adjusted the fence so that it comes back. So this provides a little bit more of this sort of containment. The planning board was looking to have this as be a solid fencing, but we talked them through that process and really highlighted to them that it's really just to kind of provide a border perimeter for the students, and so they were fine with that. Looking at the southeast corner, we revised the grading to accommodate that adjustment in eliminating the retaining walls. So we went over this closely with both the planning board and the Conservation Commission, and they found this to be acceptable. They are a little bit concerned with the making sure that we protect the wetlands during construction. So we'll be taking close steps to make sure that the contractor stays away from this area during early construction, during the early days of the construction process. And then the approval not required plan, which is the A&R plan, in close coordination with the town of Westwood, we developed this sort of delineation of the care, custody, and control boundary for what falls under the care, custody, and control of the school district versus the town. So on the light green shade is the school district, and the white areas beyond that, which extend up through the rest of the Shuttleworth property, is with the town. So we're finalizing this plan, and it'll get submitted to the town. We're expecting in the next week or two. Regarding the stormwater updates, so we did some additional test pits, and as you can see, this is a plan showing all the test pits over the multiple different times that we went out there to complete them, which represents the different colors, test pits and borings. And so this really kind of helped. This was additional test pits were requested by Beta Engineering to really have a solid understanding of the soils for stormwater. And so they were satisfied with all of that work. We additionally, we relocated these underground stormwater, we'll call underground stormwater galleries. You won't see them. They're all underground, but they help to filter out the water, the stormwater from the roofs and the pervious pavement. And so we relocated it. There was one up here, located here to the west side of the building. We updated our calculations and report, updated our HydroCAD model. We revised the plans to address any items and comments that Beta Engineering had. We provided these dewatering specifications, so that's during construction to manage any water that's from the geothermal wells during construction, or as a result of any water found on the site during construction. We've got a plan for that. And that's it. So I'll open it up to any other questions, comments, reactions people have.
Rob, is the beta review you mentioned, is that an independent engineering review? Or?
Yes, it is. And they're hired by the town. They're an engineer the town uses for essentially all their projects.
Just thanks for the taking all the feedback that we gave you, including the extra 5 yards on the soccer. That I think could be a big help. Thank you for working through that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to do it.
Hey, Rob, one question is there designated like snow removal? Like when they clear the parking lot, they're gonna have to put the snow someplace. Is that to be incorporated into the stormwater, or how?
Yeah, so we had a meeting with DPW, and we went over with Ken as well, thoughts on where the snow plowing, where the snow could get pushed. And so we designated a few different locations for that. And actually, one of the things that we also did do is along the east side of this drive, aside from the parking areas, we've eliminated the curbing. So that also helps to facilitate, pushing snow onto that sort of into the grassy areas in the wintertime. And we did have that discussion with DPW and the school district. Any other questions?
I have a question about the fence around the playground.
Yes.
I know we're trying to keep it in the woods, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I'm just curious, is that constructible? Like, I know with fencing contractors, you have like an auger machine, you have concrete. I guess I'm just concerned about them being able to maintain the woods and keep that fence in place.
Yeah, I mean, the woods, while there are a lot of trees there, it's not super thick. It's manageable. And so, they're likely going to need to cut down, maybe some small trees, but they'll be working around the larger trees that are there and leave those in place. We don't anticipate that to be a big issue.
Okay, great.
All right, any other questions on the permitting? No, okay. We are going to move into action items. So the first is I would need a motion to approve the 60% cost estimate submission to the MSBA.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call. Josh?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Mary Kate?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Lemma?
Yes.
Josepha?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Tony had to jump off. Emily?
Yes.
And I am a yes, motion is carried. Okay. Next, I will need a motion to approve the Aesthetics and Design Subcommittee's recommendations on the interior finishes that we saw today. Can I get that motion?
So moved. So moved.
Okay. Josh?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Mary Kate?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Lemma?
Yes.
Josepha?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, motion is carried. Okay, I need a vote to approve the meeting minutes of December 3rd, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Josh?
I was not able to attend that meeting, so I'll abstain from.
Okay, great. Brian?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Tom?
I will abstain. I was
Oh,
not
yeah.
employed.
Thank you. Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Mary Kate?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Lemma?
Yes.
Josepha?
Yes.
Matt?
Abstain, did not attend.
Okay, Carol?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
And I am a yes, motion is carried. Okay, I need vote to accept the Aesthetics and Design Subcommittee meeting minutes. John, can I do these as one vote for the December 1st and December 9th?
Yes, you can.
Okay, for both the December 1st and the December 9th, 2021 meetings.
Like to make the motion?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on either meeting minutes? All right. Josh?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Tom?
Abstain.
Abstain, yep, sorry. John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Mary Kate?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Lemma?
Yes.
Josepha?
Yes.
Matt? Is that a yes? Oh, you're muted.
My buttons right now, I can't see them. They're blacked out. So the answer is yes. My apologies.
Okay, thank you. Carol?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
And I am a yes, motion is carried. Okay, final is a vote to approve payment of invoices for the period ending December 31st, 2021, as recommended by Compass. The full amount of the recommendation is $395,473.46. That's comprised of a $28,000 invoice from Compass, a $365,271 invoice from Doran Whittier for construction contract documents, geotech and wetlands, a $252.96 invoice from Gatehouse Media for legal notices, advertising of legal notices for meetings, for public hearings. And finally, a $1,949.50 invoice from Norwood Printing for the project brochure that was sent out in the fall. So can I, again, total of $395,473.46. Can I get a motion to approve these invoices?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Josh?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Tom?
Abstained at the time. I don't know if I,
Okay.
these go back for a month or.
Okay. John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Mary Kate?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Lemma?
Yes.
Josepha?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
And I am a yes, motion is carried.
Hey, may I, just for clarification, I would have voted yes on both.
Did I not call on you?
That's fine. Just to
Oh,
let you know,
Chris, I'm
just for
sorry.
consistency, I just vote yes for both.
All right, Chris is a yes on the minutes and on the, I don't know how that happened. I'm sorry, Chris.
It happens at home all the time. Don't you worry.
Mayor, I think that Chris came in late, so it wasn't on your list of attendee at the very beginning.
Oh, that might have been it.
But I
Yeah.
voted earlier, but that's okay.
Yeah, I know. I honestly, I don't know how I did that. All right. Well, we've got your votes. Okay. Any new business anyone wants to raise? Nope. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Josh,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes, thank you.
John,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Mary Kate,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Abby,
Yes.
Lemma,
Yes.
Josepha,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Motion is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you. This will not be quite as painful when we're back in person. Thank you, everyone, for your
Have a good
patience and
weekend.
for your participation, and we'll see you next month. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Stay well, everyone.
Thank you. All
Thank you.
right.